From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. I am your host, Patrick Berry. It is October, which is a great time of year if you're a hockey fan because all of your favorite hockey teams are taking the ice on the professional level. And right here in Springfield, we have a professional hockey team, and it's the Springfield Thunderbirds. Their president, Nate Costa, joins me today to talk a little bit about the business of hockey, not necessarily the day-to-day games and the standings and stats that you'll be able to pick up on the Sports Corner with Phil, Ed, and Tyrell at a future date. Nate, thank you very much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate you coming in. It's an exciting time. The new season is upon us.
I know it is a new season and actually a pretty special season for us, our 10th anniversary. So,
I'm glad you started with that because I did want to go back in time it would be the 2016. So in the spring of 2016, what were then the Falcons,
correct,
the Springfield Falcons were sold.
Yeah.
And we're leaving Springfield. For the first time, I think, in 50 years, there may not have been a team in Springfield. But that changed. Tell me about the spring of 2016.
Yeah, at the spring of 2016, I was actually at the American Hockey League. I was on the team business services side. I was running that department, which was essentially a built-in consultancy for the business on the AHL. So I've had a pretty good dealing with a ton of teams across the league. And it's funny, the AHL League office is actually in Springfield.
Right.
So the coincidence being that we heard overnight that the owner in Springfield had decided to sell to the Arizona Coyotes and they were going to move the team to Tucson.
And that was the NHL parent company previously, right? I think it was.
Correct. There was a relationship. At the end there, it was the Coyotes, correct?
I think
they were with the Columbus before that. They've had a couple other affiliates. Right. And there's been a big shift, obviously, in our league to NHL teams owning. So that was part of it. The NHL bought it, or the NHL team bought it and moved it out to have their development closer to where they were.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a huge effect on the business. I think it's more for a hockey thing, making, I mean, in this day and age, when you're traveling, you can really get a guy up to the majors wherever you're getting them from, right? But not necessarily need that close proximity, similar to like our relationship now. It's helpful, but it's not necessary, right? So just to get back to the Springfield piece, unfortunately, fortunately, we were the floor right below Paul Picknelli's office. And the day after the sale, Paul called Dave Andrews, the president of the league, saying, look, we just found out about this and we can't have this happen. MGM was coming into the market.
Right.
There was a lot of momentum kind of building towards that, and to have the building empty, that was something Paul didn't want to see. And luckily the team up in Portland was for sale. There was a team up in Portland that was also independently owned that they were trying to sell. Paul got some really good guidance from Dave, and we were able to snag that franchise and move it to Springfield. Essentially just as quickly. I mean, all this happened really like within a week's time. Right? Yeah, about a week time.
Wow.
Because it was the end of May. So, that was after the season had ended. I think they got sold at the end of April, but it was, maybe a couple weeks there in May. So, it's a short off season
really
anyway.
Happened quickly.
But very quickly, yes. And it had to if they wanted to field a team for that next season. That was the goal. You didn't want to have a lapse.
The former owner of the Springfield team decides, all right, we're moving to Arizona. That phone call determines that the team in Portland is up for sale. I mean, the deal happens quickly. Next thing you know, within a week's time, we lose one team, gain another team. But from the casual fan standpoint, it seemed fairly seamless that, oh, well, we were the Falcons, now we're the Thunderbirds, we were with Arizona, now we're with Florida. Mm-hmm. It seemed fairly seamless, but I'm surprised you don't have a lot of gray hair from that week.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. I think it's seamless to the overall majority, right? But for the diehard fans, I mean, that was a really tough time. Like there was a real possibility that the team wasn't going to come back. So a testament to Paul and the quick nature of like getting not only, him getting a team, but also getting 30 other investors. And we have just about 30 other investors. And that was the model for Paul. Paul's whole thing was this should be a community asset. This should never happen again. This should be there's been a team in Springfield since the start of the American League. So it's getting close to, I mean, it's been 90 years in the American League. I think next year we're celebrating 100 years in Springfield hockey history. So it even goes before the American League. And so like there's been such history here. So for Paul's whole thing, he could have owned it on his own.
Right.
But he wanted to make sure that this was something that stayed and lasted.
And that there was buy-in from other people, not just one person who wanted local hockey. It was buy-in from a group. Would you say 30 investors?
Close to 30. I think we're just under 30.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was a quick, I heard that Paul was interested, that they had got the team, so I was still at the league. And I had been building a business plan to run this team, or not to run the team, but to help the previous group. So that was my job at the league, was to help teams right the ship on the business. So we had the business plan, not only for Springfield, but really for a similar market. So for me, I grew up here. That was why I got into that job, was to really get my PhD in sports business, specifically with American League, and hope a job would come up one day. So when I heard about the situation, I went to Dave Andrews and I said, I think I'm ready. I think it's my time. He introduced me to Paul, and then, the rest is history. They brought me on. And then we went through a real quick process of just getting out investor presentations on what we thought the vision could be and what it could be here. Because we always thought there was untapped potential in this market at the American League. Like I always thought this would be a huge market for the American League. So,
especially with the home office being
here. Yeah. And it's like, this is, the market size is perfect for the American League, right? Because, our building size too, 6,700 seats, really good facility, great sight lines. I mean, it's a great hockey building. There's so many positives around it when it came to, why the team should be here. And so, it was a perfect fit, right? And the big, concern was if you go a season without a team, it's almost impossible to get one. And I think we were one of the last free market purchases. I mean, they've had some other expansion teams added since we became a franchise in 2016, but there haven't been any other sales. So there was a lot of movement before, but there's a lot of, the league has been solidified now, and it really kind of gears towards the NHL teams wanting to own them. So there's just not as much movement now. We're one of only 11 independents now, which kind of cool. We get to control the business. We get to control what we want to do on the business side, and we have a great partner in St. Louis, which provides the players. But it's a unique model nowadays, because now the NHL teams want to own it top to bottom. They want to own their development top to bottom, not only on the hockey side, but on the business side too.
We're up on our first commercial break, and when we come back, we will talk about that partnership between the local team and the parent team when we come back. We'll be right back.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's edition of In Focus. Nate Costa, president of the Springfield Thunderbirds, is across the desk from me here in the 22 News Plus studios. Nate, thanks again for joining me. When we just before the break, we talked about the relationship between the local team and the parent team, and you had alluded to the fact that a lot of the AHL teams, most of the AHL teams, are owned by the parent team, the NHL team, but that's not the case here in Springfield. Why doesn't St. Louis own the Springfield Thunderbirds?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a unique situation. I mean, there's, I think, 9 other or 10 other teams that are in that situation, but they owned a team years ago in Peoria, and it was a challenging market. I think it was a challenging time in the American League too. We were talking 10 plus years ago, and so at that point, I think I'm not exactly sure what the scenario was, but I want to say if either San Antonio bought them or they were done with being there, and so they sold and they went to San Antonio, and they ended up working with them in terms of the same type of relationship. They were an independently owned team as well. So when we started this thing off, we were actually with the Florida Panthers. That relationship ended after 4 years. They didn't see eye to eye with us in terms of what our vision was, that previous group. They've done a lot of different things since then, which they've done a great job with their organization and turning that ship around, but it wasn't the same group that we dealt with. So from that standpoint, we wanted to deal with someone that wanted to develop players in a winning environment, right? At the end of the day, not just develop players, but win locally.
Exactly.
We want to win a Calder Cup. Yeah. And so that was Paul and I's main talking point was, we appreciate the fact that you want to develop your players here in Springfield, but we also want to win. And we feel that winning helps development. So that's St. Louis's mindset as well. Like it's been a really great relationship with them. They don't want to deal with the business side. They want to develop their players and get them to the NHL and also win while they're doing it. And so that fits our motto and what we want to do here on the business side, and giving us a chance to sell some really exciting hockey and hopefully a Calder Cup one day.
It's funny you bring up the Calder Cup. It was not that long ago you were in the finals. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but in a very short period of time from the, October 2016, which was 9 years ago, until what was it, the May of 2022?
Yeah, the 21-22 season, that first year after COVID.
Yeah, you were in the Calder Cup finals. So
yeah,
and that was a very short period of time. Was it just a few years?
Correct.
Do you look back now and say that's exactly what we wanted to do?
I mean, it was amazing. We never could have predicted that. Like we came right out of the pandemic, and it absolutely helped us having a winning team coming out of the pandemic, and the Blues, really loaded us up. I mean, our team was a formidable one. We had a ton of great guys. Even former NHLers like James Neal. So it was just such a unique run and experience, and I think that's probably what everyone says when they go on a run like that. I've been in this league for over 20 years, so you don't see it very often where you get a group of guys together like that, and then you get that deep. So to do that, it helped our business tremendously, especially coming out of the pandemic. The excitement of winning hockey amplifies everything that you're doing, right? And so to be able to go to the finals for the first time in 30 years, people rallied around that, and the momentum has continued.
It's interesting though, under your leadership, it doesn't really matter what I've found how well the team is doing on the ice, because you and your staff have created, it's an event. It's an event that happens in downtown Springfield that obviously we all want the team to do well. You want the team to do well, but the people are coming out no matter what.
Well, that's the real true model. That's the high performers at the American League. Obviously, like we just talked about, a winning team helps everything.
Right.
But you can't rely on that. We don't have control over the product on the ice. So you get a couple injuries at the upper level, and then you take some of your better players, and you lose control real quickly if you're focused just on hockey. And so the best teams in this league, they focus on creating events, right? And there's 36 nights a year where we have games at the Mass Mutual Center. We're creating 36 different events a year, right? And trying to have different themes and promotions and things going on. So that way we do shield ourselves in case the team doesn't perform well. That at least you can always expect a great environment in the arena, and there's always going to be something fun going on, and hopefully winning hockey.
Right? Is that a new mentality of team management on that level, where you have to do more than just put the people on the ice? You have to create a family-friendly event that it's a night out. It's entertainment. You can sit at home and watch an NHL game on TV. And I'm a huge hockey fan. It's not the same.
Well, and it has to be that model, because there's only so few really diehard hockey fans, in any market, but in this market especially. We're not in a huge city, right? So you've got to have things that are going to get families engaged, that are going to get kids engaged, that, not everyone cares about the hockey team necessarily, right? Some just want to go and have a fun night out with their family and do something together around, family-friendly entertainment. And so that's what we're trying to be. It's not necessarily a new mentality. That's what I did at the American League. We were a built-in consultancy, so we would go across the league and go to high performers and see what they were doing and share those ideas with others, because we're not really competing off the ice. Like, I don't compete necessarily with Hartford for fans. That would be my closest competitor. But I'm definitely not competing with San Diego, California, but they're doing some stuff that we can learn from. So the league does a really nice job of sharing best practices and what's working across the league.
That's great.
That was my role before. That was what I was doing, essentially, was going into market and tracking revenues and seeing what teams were doing well, and the teams that were doing the best invested in groups, invested in experiences for kids, and all those things that we're doing now. And so, we took all those best ideas and you shape them to be specific for the market. So,
and when you say you looked at the teams that were doing well, it's not well as far as standing. It's what's your bottom line revenue?
Correct.
Are you putting butts in the seats? Are you making money?
Yeah, or just attendance, getting people to the building. But yes, making money. Obviously, that was the goal.
Right.
And how do you do that, right? And I think there's been that mentality in the past, I think, of just, hey, you open the doors and you hope people come. Like you just can't do that, or what happened before can happen.
Right.
You've got to be outbound. You've got to, that's what we're doing now. Continually, it doesn't stop. In terms of what we're trying to do, it's a constant evolution of the business, and we put a lot of outbound effort into reaching out to people to come to the rink, right? And that's a big part of our business. I mean, we're over half of my people are salespeople in my office, so that's on purpose.
Right.
They're not selling just single game tickets here or there. They're selling larger groups. Hey, have your school come on out and sing the national anthem,
Right.
or hey, come on out with your youth hockey team, get to play a pro experience before one of our games, or get one of your karate studios to come on out and do a demonstration on the ice, because we do that during intermission. So we're really a community showcase at the end of the day, right? It's like that's what we should be. Like, where else in this area can you go in front of 6,700 seats at any one given time? And that's who and what we are, and what we're selling. Because there's a lot of value to getting those eyeballs in front of what we're doing.
Absolutely. We are up on our second commercial break. We're here in the studio with Nate Costa from the Springfield Thunderbirds. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's In Focus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. We're talking about the business of professional hockey right here in Springfield. Across the desk from me today is Nathan Costa. He is the president of the Springfield Thunderbirds Hockey Club. Nate, thanks you again for joining me today.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. In the last segment, we were talking about making hockey an event. Is there a minor league hockey, minor league baseball, all make these family-friendly events. It's a great night out, an affordable night out for families to go, keep the kids entertained, the parents entertained. Is there a time that you can pinpoint when that mentality of team ownership changed to say, okay, we need to make this more than just a game?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 15, 20 years ago, the NBA were sort of at the forefront of doing that. And, fortunately, I was part of the San Antonio Spurs organization because they owned the Rampage, which is an AHL team, which I started my journey on.
Okay.
So I got to see what they were doing. They were sharing best practices and ideas because the NBA had struggled with attendance early on. And then we as a league, glommed onto that and said, gosh, like we should be doing this at our level and figuring out what teams are the high performers and what they're doing to sell tickets, especially group tickets, and making it an event. So at that point, that's when, you could no longer rely, like we said before, on just opening the doors and hoping people were going to come or people that were going to walk up, right? There's a whole transition on the business, and you're dealing with a lot of other, entertainment options with people, right? They can go and do a lot of other stuff. They can go to movies, they can go to, high school sports, all other things that are happening in your market. So you've got to make it a fun place to be. And that's really where the focus has led, and the minor league baseball is a great example of that. The AHL, I feel like, does it second to none as well. It's,
absolutely,
utilizing our experience, our games and our arenas to just host events, provide experiences that you're not going to get elsewhere.
So let's look back on the 10 years.
Sure.
All right. So you had mentioned earlier that, the Falcons leaving, Thunderbirds starting really was like a week, 2 weeks time. It happened very quickly. Looking back, as we sit here in the fall of 2025, what you and the investor group planned in the spring of 2016, has everything come to fruition, or are there still things you're working on?
I mean, I don't think we're never going to be satisfied. So I don't think everything is going to, come, because we have high expectations for what we're doing. But it has come along very quickly. And I think we had some confidence that if we did it the right way, and that if the ownership group invested it the right way, and gave us the ability to do the things that we're going to need to be done to be successful, that this could work as quickly as it has. Having a great relationship with the Blues and having a winning product has helped things as well. Like, we've made the playoffs the last few years. We went deep to the finals, not just 4 years ago. So there is that momentum, right, that has helped keep us top of mind and interested. But on our side too, we're constantly trying to find new ideas and different things that people are going to be engaged in, and new and different theme jerseys, and just doing unique things that we're gonna have people turn around and say, "Oh, wow, like, we didn't expect you guys doing anything like that," specifically Ortiz and the All-Star game and all those fun things.
So how involved is the investor group in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis or a season-to-season basis? Are they involved, or are they just, expecting you to do everything, like you and your team?
Well, I mean, I am the president, so there is the expectation that I'm running the organization, but I talk to Paul almost every single day. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
he is not necessarily from a hockey background, but he loves it and wants to be a part of it and wants to see this succeed. And so there's been a lot of support, and not only just that. I mean, we've got a great board and a great involved ownership, but it's a similar situation to where if we're going to have a meeting on a sponsorship, and I send out an email to my ownership group just saying, "Hey, does anybody in this group know anyone within this organization? Can you give me a phone
Right.
call or give me a little nudge?" More often than not, within that group, which was the strategy behind it, there's someone who knows somebody.
Exactly.
Which that has been more helpful than anything. And they've been really good at the
Well,
support
because it's
side of
their
it.
money they've invested. They want to see this succeed.
Yeah, I mean,
So if they can help you out.
100%. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it wasn't always about making money. I think these guys really wanted to do the right thing and invest in it the right way. Obviously, we're all shrewd businessmen, and that's what you want to do at the end of the day. That wasn't the main goal. The main goal was to really make this a prideful community asset for everybody involved.
You look back to 2016, downtown Springfield was a different landscape than it is today.
Oh, yeah.
MGM is now here. Downtown Springfield, it's Bruce Landon Way that's right out, goes east-west in front of the Mass Mutual Center, intersects with Main Street there. It's a completely different environment. You've got a new parking garage.
Yeah.
That all helps. I mean, it has to help the team and the fan base in attendance.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, looking back at 2016, it was a completely different landscape. The casino was being built, and I mean, there was just a lot going on, right? So the city has come a long way. The state has invested in it alongside our success, right? I mean, they are the ones who purchased that old parking garage, knocked it
Right.
down, brand new facility there. Not just that facility in terms of parking, but the landing. And really, the vision is to turn this into a mini Yawkey Way. It's not going to be a throughway anymore, but it should be a pedestrian area where people can come and congregate before games. And we're going to have programming in there. And the state really did a nice job with that whole facility there. And the continued development of downtown, right? Like that's been a huge part for our success. And so, I think a lot of times the question I would get or the comments I would get when I first started were, "Wow, it's really dangerous to go downtown. I'm not going to go downtown." We don't hear that,
No,
like we work with the city on
long
making
gone.
sure that, there's enough police presence everywhere, that it's well lit, that people feel safe while they're down there. And I think we've accomplished that, and we put a lot of pride in making sure that that is the experience for people.
And all of that plays a role, because then all of the surrounding restaurants, bars, retailers, they all grow from that as well. That I all my friends that go to the
Yeah.
games, they're like, "Oh, well, we're going out to eat here. We're stopping there
Yeah.
afterwards for a drink." It's again, it's sort of like the time when I was growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. You go to the game, and it was downtown
Yeah.
Springfield was busy.
Yeah, and I mean, we did an economic analysis a few years ago where we had made $125 million impact on our community through that time, and I'm sure it's close to 200 million now over the last 2 seasons. And I think you could probably go to every single one of those business owners downtown and have that same question asked, like, are you getting fans? And absolutely, it's just,
Good.
like we're hopeful that we're being that catalyst for all these other businesses that are trying to do the same thing that we're doing. Is be prideful around Springfield, right, at the end of the day. And so I feel like we've had a really good, pick up from that as well.
Good to hear.
And it's obvious that our impact is palpable, right? You can see it, you can feel it. If you come down on a game
Right.
night, you can see it everywhere. And I'm hopeful that we're going to be doing 6:00 starts on Saturdays now,
Nice.
so it'll be a little more family friendly. But I do hope that it means people are coming downtown a little bit early and hopefully going
Right.
to have dinner before the game, or now
after.
coming to
Yeah.
come after, because the
Right.
games will end around 8:30, 8:45. And so I know that some of the partners we've talked to are excited about that. They'll get a
Good.
second rush, and it's good for us because I think the game experience will be positive, but I still do think there will be some real positive runoff for these local businesses.
Fantastic. Nate Costa from the Springfield Thunderbirds. Can't thank you enough for joining me today. I greatly appreciate your time. Best of luck this season with the team.
Well, thank you for having me,
You bet.
Patrick.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.